So I'll change it up a little bit. I'm not going to show you any slides because I'm not very good at producing slides that would interest you. Very simply, what CCM does is we capture and convert CO2, so we utilize it and we do it profitably. And to very simply explain how the technology works, we have three component parts. CO2, a fibrous material, which can be anything from a grass to a straw, wood chip, or even digestate from anaerobic digestion. And the third component is ammonia or one of the amine family. So you put those three component parts together, you mix them together, and three things happen. First of all, you get a lot of exothermic heat. The second thing is you get a building block for a product of value. In our case, the first one is fertilizer. And the third thing, which is critical, is there's no waste. What goes into our process is all used. So that's the technology at its simplest, and I really want to leave you with 5 key messages. First of all, this is very, very simple technology. This is mixing, and that's critical both at the front end, where we put our equipment, because the last thing that people want is any more highly fine-tuned, optimized sites being corrupted by some new technology. And at the back end, the fertilizer can be used by farmers using standard farming equipment. So nothing changes. The second thing is the process has an extremely low carbon footprint. So if you think about fertilizer right now, fertilizer, to produce 1 ton of fertilizer in Europe, you emit 4.5 tons of CO2, just for 1 ton of fertilizer. Canada, that number's even higher at 6.5. Our process is at 0.2 of a ton. So we're effectively emissions neutral manufacturing of fertilizer. The third thing is that this is financially robust. If you use the base case, this process will generate internal rates of return of around 15 to 18% before you optimize. So this is not leeching on government subsidies. This is a standalone, fiscally viable project. And then the final thing is that it's real and it's now. And so the one picture I will show you is, because I lied to you about not showing you, this is a unit that is currently in our Swindon facility, which is just going through its final processing and commissioning. This goes down to a site that Viridor owns down in Somerset. They have everything down there, which includes composting, they've got solar panels, they've got everything there. But the key one for us is that they process 20,000 tons of Somerset Council food waste at this facility. The challenge for them is that they get left over with 6,500 tons of digestate cake, which cost them money to get rid of. So we do 3 things, or we will do 3 things at this facility in Somerset. We will take the CO2 off their generator flue. We will take the 6,500 tons of digestate that currently cost them money, and we will convert that into 10,000 tons worth of commercial high-grade fertilizer. And then the final piece for them, this site uniquely, is that they are using their very valuable biogas to pasteurize the AD, the anaerobic digestion bacteria, which they have to do under European regulation. What our exothermic heat will do is to replace that, allowing them to sell that into the grid. So that's the key. The remainder is just to say, why is this relevant today? There are regulations around the world, but particularly here in the UK, around clean air strategy that DEFRA announced a couple of weeks ago, around soil health. We know there's a huge degrading in the soil around the world. This technology allows you to provide fertilizer which is produced from waste, that has a much lower carbon footprint, and your farmers are getting exactly the same, if not slightly better returns in terms of yield. But the early evidence, and that's 4 years of trials, but the early evidence suggests that what's going on below the soil, about putting carbon back into the soil, about water retention and increased microbial activity, is very high. So there's a lot of relevance to the regulation and policy that's going on, but also to some of the challenges that the climate faces. I'll leave you with one quote, which I think is probably the most significant quote I've seen for a bit, and thank you very much indeed.